Thank you, Susan. Pleasure to be here. And I brought in just a little bit to preparing for mission and everything you need to know in 10 minutes or less here. My disclosures, actually, Global Sight Alliance has been working with Ascaris Foundation for the last 6 years in really providing a portal for information on many of these different issues that we're talking about. I did want to say, Susan, thank you so much. That was very excellent, and those are the kind of really valuable pieces that we want to have present. We plan to have this lecture present on Global Sight because it's something you may want to refer your friend to and listen to and whatnot. So, my disclosures, besides being a founder of Global Sight, is I also work in providing microscopes for the developing world. I want to dedicate this talk to Harry Brown, who passed away Easter Sunday just last month. And, you know, I think of Harry and just his smile, how visionary that man was, how innovative he was in thinking about missions and international eye care, how engaging he was, and how inspirational Harry was. So for those of you who knew Harry or had the privilege, I want to dedicate this lecture to him. So in terms of preparing for mission, there's a lot of things that are involved in preparing for mission. This is not something that's just easy to jump into. And I think the purpose of Global Sight essentially was to say, look, this is not about reinventing the wheel. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. And so the point of this is let's use our resources wisely that have already been developed. So I'm going to touch on opportunity, the knowledge, your team, your equipment, your supplies, some of the skills that are necessary, and a little bit about packing for mission. Now, it becomes overwhelming when you look at the opportunities out there, really, because this is just a tiny snippet, a handful of organizations that you can partner with. And so I find that ophthalmologists sometimes get confused of what's the best. And truthfully, what's best for one doctor isn't necessarily best for another doctor. And so your particular skills or your particular partnering might look different. So really that's where Global Sight is trying to help navigate that world. And so one of the things we have is a directory of about 26 different agencies where you can look and learn a little bit about what's the pros and cons. For instance, C International is a wonderful organization that does about 120 missions a year, and I really recommend for most ophthalmologists that you join C in terms of becoming a member because of how they support missions, and they partner with many missions. But some of the C missions may not be for you. If they send a team of 3 and you're the only doctor, that might not be the mission for you. So just because C is well respected, and I think the world of C, you need to look at what is the right mission for you, especially if you're getting involved for the beginning. So today and this week we are introducing eyeHarmony. Mission begins here, and so this is really the dating service for ophthalmologists and mission opportunities. And so I'm going to have you look at this short video. We've actually been doing this for about 6 years, but we've supercharged it in trying to help doctors and agencies connect. And so here's a short video, about 2 minutes long. It's a little bit frenetic, so hang on to your seatbelts. The main feature is to be able to explore different missions around the world and see where different agencies are going and learning a little bit about what their specific needs are. You can search very powerfully by specialty and by position, by the type of mission that's going, and you can look exactly where they're going to be. You can add different filters and see where surgery is happening, where's medical ophthalmology, and where retina specialists are needed. You can inquire directly to the agency through this app, and we're working with about 26 different agencies. You'll get an email then directly from Global Sight and then from the agency. We do have a volunteer registry that we maintain, and we ask you to put your skills, your proficiency in M6, and your CV and upload that. The mission agencies then can look and review that and connect with you. The neat feature we just added is requesting alerts. So if you say, hey, I would like to hear about something that's coming up, anything that Sea International is doing in Belize that needs surgical ophthalmologists, that I have English and Spanish skills, boom, you put that down, and then you will hear back in an email for all the opportunities that meet those criteria that you have just filled out. Then you can click on your email, go directly to that mission, read a little bit more about it, and then you can inquire. But be careful. This is a very dangerous thing to do, because Shazam or pow, you may end up in a foreign country. So that's just a snippet of the new eyeHarmony mission map. So our stats on that, we really are relaunching it just this month. And currently we have 50 mission opportunities. We have about 135 volunteers in our registry currently. I said 26, about 20 mission agencies. And the new things are subspecialty opportunities and mission alerts. Now let's talk about a little bit about other pieces of knowledge that you want to prepare for. You're going to a country, you need to learn something about that country and their politics, learning some language. If you know language in a country, why not go to that country where you know the language? That's a good idea. But learning key medical words so that your medical Spanish or your medical Chinese or whatnot is good. Learning about the cultures. But one thing I would encourage you to do is learn about what's the ophthalmology care in that country. And you may think there's no ophthalmologist in this particular country you're going to or in this particular area, but you may be surprised. So touching base with somebody who's been involved in that country. Talking about your team, one thing I skipped over just slightly, but I want to say is one of the most important things, depending on when you're putting your team together, is depending on your level of expertise, the most important person in your team may be a senior ophthalmologist or someone who's very skilled in the surgical skills that you're trying to do, especially if they're new to you. So that may be one of the most important persons. And make sure that you're coupling with someone, and that's true with the agency as well. Most of what I say here today, I want to preface with, if you couple with the right agency, that's probably the very most important thing, because you don't, again, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel, but I'm showing you a few perks and pearls for people who are ready to sort of be on their own in some ways. So, but putting together technicians, scrub nurses, and general helpers are important. Now, in terms of equipment, it can be overwhelming, all the equipment. And it's certainly one of the reasons why partnering with agencies that are involved or with clinics that are established is probably my recommendation is not to say, hey, I need to get all of this stuff. But obviously, the key things questions that I deal with a lot is what's the best portable keratometer, what's the best A-scan, what's the best microscope for your and what instruments do you need, how are you going to sterilize. Here's just a brief picture of the latest rendition of the Epic scope with a video system, and packed in one case. And here's something we're releasing this summer, which is a portable stool.
Okay, can I just say I use this portable stool. It is the most amazing piece of equipment compared to it. You're finally able to sit properly when you're operating.
Thank you, Sue. Yeah, we actually have redesigned it since you sat on it, but to make it even better. But in terms of supplies, if you are in charge of the supplies, boy, that is overwhelming. Personally, I don't think ophthalmologists are good at this. You need technicians and you need people who have experience. And so, because you don't want to get there and go, oh, we forgot the trypan, or we forgot the iris retractors or whatnot. So there's a long list, really, when it comes down to what we need. And certainly we partner with organizations such as C. One of the reasons I recommended joining with C, if you want IOLs in the U.S., especially from Alcon nowadays, they really recommend going through C International. And that's one of the things that your support of C will do, is they will help with sending you packs and some of those things. But certainly a lot of our mission groups do need to purchase supplies. And so C can't provide everything. So we sometimes purchase IOLs or other viscoelastic and whatnot. Now, through Vision Outreach International, we actually maintain an inventory of every supply that we need, and it's several spreadsheets long. And here's our old packing room. This is our supply room that we have, and of course we've got stocks of IOLs that are sitting around. I'll show you here. We actually have a nice little calculator, and this is a calculator for intraocular lens power prediction and how many you need to bring. So essentially, you put what your mean IOL power needs to be, and you put your minimum and your maximum and how many cases you're going to do, and it will give you a distribution of how many you should bring at each power level for that. So that's kind of a nice little handy-dandy thing so you know how many lenses to bring for your expected cases. In packing all of these things, you need to make sure you have everything in plenty of time before, inventory your supplies, and spread them out, and then you have to look at spreading out your weight. So we've got places to put all your supplies. This is in the basement of my office, and again, much more qualified people are involved in this than myself. But then they get packed into the cases, and we inventory each case. This is a very important piece, which is your weight. To make sure you're at 50 pounds. And here's your inventory by alphabet and then also by case. So we do that to know exactly what we have going along. And so it looks a little bit like this, supplies. Of course, investigating the changes in airline rules. I just heard today that business doesn't get three luggage. You can only do 2 with business. So is that American? South America. Okay. So anyhow, that changes. So it's a changing venue with the airlines. And I'll just briefly Susan did a good job of talking about visas, but one thing that's very important is having a letter of invitation from the area that you're going to, and then a letter of donations when you're going to customs, not carrying outdated drugs, having a copy of everybody's passport that's on your team, and your proper forms. Nobody is above suspicion in this process. So here we are, landed and packed, ready to go. One thing I want to encourage you to think about ahead of time is how you're going to document and what's your form look like that you're documenting and leaving with your local doc that you're working with. Now, launching into skills, really there's a vast number of skills, and as Susan sort of hinted at, and the doctor from India hinted at, manual small incision cataract surgery is a very important skill when you're dealing with dense cataracts and pseudoexfoliation and small pupils and many of these different things. But even just a mature cataract in the developing world with a nice pupil, this is a great technique to be aware of. And certainly there's been a lot of press. We thank David Chang for bringing M6 to the forefront many years ago here at ASCRS specifically, and many doctors that have provided excellent teaching videos. But I want to further this one more step, and really, to me, the place where we're really encouraging doctors to think about, this is really not about you. It's not about your doing M6. It's actually about your teaching. And so what are you doing to learn to be a better trainer? What are you doing to share your skills? And how are you partnering when you go? Is it just you doing 50 cases, or is it really you working with a doctor? And so that's my challenge to you as you think about working. And certainly you may be the one that's being taught in many settings. So some of the different resources I want to share briefly at the end. Here is the M6 classroom that's available online with quite a few different videos and steps. How's the best capsulorhexis? How do you express the nucleus out the best? The Ervin M6 manual has been digitized, and that's available on Global Site and for iPad specifically. The Help Me See manual is also available in a PDF format, and both of these manuals have videos present. These are free resources. We've given away thousands of these, and if you'd like to support this effort, that would be helpful as well, because these efforts have taken a lot of resources to do. Google Cataract Group is available for those interested in dialoguing with other M6 surgeons around the world, and that's on Global Site. A conference I want to tell you about this summer is in North Carolina. We're going to have the Help Me See M6 simulator for the first time at a large public venue, and included with a MIGS wet lab, which is one of our concentrations. This is through the Christian Ophthalmology Society, which I'm the current program director and president for this society. But anyhow, that simulator will be available to get your hands on, and you can see virtual reality. This simulator is based around the flight simulator, and it's still in development, but they're continuing to get this better and better. A manual small incision course with C International is something that has been more available, and they're picking up the pace in terms of having those. So I would encourage you to learn about that. I have C International brochures up front here for afterwards. A course that we just announced this week is in Fort Worth, Texas. It's a live surgical course where we will be doing manual small incision cataract surgery. And this is a course for beginners and advanced manual small incision doctors. What do I mean by that? So for the advanced, people who already know manual small incision, we are talking about training the trainer to train. So this is really about taking people to the next level from where they're at. And the faculty for this course, Glenn Strauss, who's done more than 10,000 M6. We have Diego Mejia, who has been working with Vision Outreach and C International, training doctors. We have Dr. John Cropsey coming from Burundi, Steve Anderson, who spent a lot of time in Indonesia, and Gene Haschauer will actually be doing some of the live surgery from Dean McGee Eye Institute. You can bring your technician, and there's also a separate technician course. Now, the interesting thing about this course is we're doing a post-course training, which is a hands-on. For those that attend the course, they will have the opportunity to work with a certified trainer around the world in the next year in various African and Latin American sites. So in summary, I'd like to say the agency is probably the most important thing you want to start with. Studying the country, knowing about that, learning about the challenges that there are in terms of technique. Two things that I want to emphasize at the end is repeat visits is what, to me, this is about, and building relationships, and then committing to skills transfer. So that looks like ASCRS: agency, study of the culture, challenge prepared, return visits, and skills transfer. Thank you very much.